Yeah, I've set all this up just for you. So
Beautiful.
here we. So yeah. So what would you like to know?
So yeah, we were just I was trolling Instagram as you do, and I saw your some of the riffs you were doing for hovensghost there, and I thought, oh, that's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
So yeah, you're and you said, did you get the combo in? You said you were getting a new combo in.
Yeah, the combo is this one right here.
Nah,
I've had it switched on. I've been doing a bit of warming up to show you a few things as well, and just tell you a little bit about the gear that I have here
beautiful,
and some of
beautiful.
I play and that. So yeah, it's yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. All right.
So
Well, let's. I mean, just we're gonna record this. Maybe just start a little bit with you yourself, who you are, and the band Hovens Ghost, how the name came about. Your, how many members and all that good stuff.
yeah, sure. Hovensghost started out in 2017 with me, my friend Martin, who's the keys player, and my other friend Monty, or Samuel, but we all call him Monty. Yeah, me and Martin, I've known Martin for years, and he just said he was in like a blues band, and he says, well, should we have a jam sometime? So, yeah, okay, we both like the same kind of bands, all the same, well, classic rock, prog rock, whatever you want to call it. So we hit it off straight away. So he was tinkering with some keys, and I brought along the guitar and just had a bit of a mess with him. And then, I'm going to bring another guy in called Jack. He was the drummer. So he came on board, and then he brought Monty in, and then the four of us just started trying to write interesting, different music. I think was the way it all set about. But yeah, Jack left because he wanted to focus on other things, which is fair enough. So at the moment, there's only three members. We hope we have a fourth member joining us soon, another drummer. But so yeah, that was how that started. The name actually came about. I was working one day, and there was some radio program on about some haunting in an old concert hall in Germany somewhere, and I wasn't really paying attention. But a haunting at a concert hall in Germany, and it was Beethoven's ghost. And so take out the bait, and you've got the Hovens, and yeah, that was that. So that's how that name came about. Cheap and cheerful.
There you go. Perfect. Inspiration on the fly. Very nice. So now
Yeah.
during the pandemic, you've I think you were working on an album called Planet Nine. Is that in the can, or is that?
That is still it's not in the can yet, but we started working on Planet Nine. We had a bit of a hiatus, so in 2019, and at the end of 2019, we said, yeah, let's do some more music. So the three of us got back together and started doing some more musical ideas. Something totally different to what we set out first doing. So let's come up let's do a bit of a concept album, like how they used to do it back in the day, kind of thing. So yeah, so Planet Nine was a name that was just drawn out of a hat, and said, okay, then so let's start writing some songs. So we did. These are still sort of like work titles, and they were still like working titles. We're probably still going to change the names to different tunes here and there. But yeah, so we got a couple of tunes pretty much done as a demo, just using the likes of GarageBand and things that are sort of like app ready and accessible. And it was yeah, so we got some ideas flowing. We did two songs, and then lockdown happened, and so that halted all progress, halted all progress basically for 2020. And so it was really 2020 for all of us in our own sort of individual right, just messing around, doing things for ourselves and exchanging ideas over things like this, but Messenger and things like that.
All right, cool. So now, are you kind of gearing up? Are you starting to maybe book some gigs as lockdowns might ease here, or what are you hearing?
So the lockdown is easing off gradually in the UK. There's like some kind of roadmap that the Prime Minister sort of set out for how things are going to happen over the coming months. They actually haven't said when concert venues are allowed to take place again. There's talk of festivals happening again. like local festivals and that kind of thing. So we'd like to jump on board with that as soon as possible, really. So we've got a few ideas. I think how it's probably going to be for us. We're probably going to hire out, probably in our own right. We're probably going to hire out some venue or other, like a local venue, just to bring the people that actually want to hear this kind of thing to us, and then just go off the back of that. So start off doing like our own little gig, and then just go off the back of that and see how it goes from there. See if there's any more demand for it. Hopefully there is.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Is there do you have kind of a prog scene in here? Where are you located? And do you have kind of a prog scene there, or a group of bands you like to play with and kind of relate with?
Well, yeah, and yes and no, actually. I mean, we're located in the northwest of the UK, so it's like the closest major city to us, I suppose, is Manchester. So Manchester is known for bands like Oasis and the whole British pop and indie rock scene. There's a few metal bands and all that sort of thing. But not prog is one of those things. It's kind of a forgotten genre, even though there's people like me that grew up listening to it thanks courtesy of the parents that listened to it way back when. And I grew up listening to that, as did the members of hovensghost. So yeah, there's a bit of a mixed bag up in the northwest of the UK. So there is prog, there is mostly punk and indie rock music, and there is heavy metal, like I say. I think they're the kind of genres that are around up here. My particular location is Lancashire, which is one of the counties in the northwest, and that's where we all live in the same county. I live in a town called Clitheroe, which is home to like all the mysterious and things like that. Like it's the whole thing about the Pendle witches and all those sort of things. So there's like these old folklore tales and things like that. So I can relate to that with my surroundings and the kind of music that I like to play and what I like to listen to. I mean, the town has a castle, so there's like medieval elements in there as well. So you're surrounded with lots of rich history as well as tales of days gone by, and that's what sort of encourages me to write the kind of music that I write, with elements of sci-fi and all that kind of thing, really. Sci-fi and folk and jazz, bluesy, rock type stuff, really. So yeah, so it's quite rich with it round here in this particular area. It's very rich with it.
Excellent, excellent. So now we can't ignore that wonderful stack of amps back there. Thank you for arranging that specially for this get-together here. So how long have you, what kind of settled you on the Hiwatt? I mean, I guess since you're kind of immersed in the genre that's been developed over these years, that Hiwatt is maybe a natural fit for that.
Absolutely. All my bands that I've listened to and that I like, mostly my dad used to listen to, like back in the 60s and 70s. Bands like Genesis, Jethro Tull, the lesser known, I suppose, but still one of my favourites, Gentle Giant, who are like one of my favourite progressive rock bands of all time. I only discovered them a few years ago, and listening to like the guitar sounds of all the bands mentioned, it was, what gear do those guys play? And like King Crimson as well, big Hiwatt users, and I had to find out where the hell I could get Hiwatt amplifiers from. So, getting hold of them at first, because there's some weird history behind them. Like they were Hiwatt, and then they were Maxwatt in the US, I think. And then then Hiwatt got the name back. So, and then suddenly, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, when I was in the market for new equipment, there's some of the surplus of Hiwatt amplifiers that have just resurfaced again. So there was a store down in the south of England on their website that was selling Hiwatt amps. So I was like, excellent, I'm going to buy me one of those amplifiers just because of the name and sort of the rich rock and roll, British rock and roll history that's behind it, I suppose. So, the first one I bought, I'll just tilt it up a little bit there. At the top of the heap there is the Hiwatt 240. That was the first one that I bought. Truly, I was blown away by it. And usually, like most people, they'll take to YouTube and they'll say, type in this amplifier and let's see if I can find any reviews about it. And I did the same. There isn't that many on that particular amp, so I just thought, right, I'll take the plunge. I'll just buy it myself and make my own judgments without having a third party swaying my decision one way or another. So I bought the T40 and hooked it up. I originally played it through a 2x12 Mesa slant cab, and it sounded great through that. And then I got pally with the guys at Hiwatt, asking them about custom cabinets, and they eventually threw together this thing for me here, which is a custom 4x12 Hiwatt cabinet. That sounded absolutely fantastic. English vane speakers, 12 inches. It weighs a ton, but it's worth the weight, I suppose. And then the second thing was this lovely high gain 50. So why I use 2 amps? So I use the T40 for like the lead guitar sound, and I use the high gain 50 for cleans and like light overdrive. There's the amount of headroom in both of them for like the clean sound. It's mind blowing actually. These things are built like tanks and they sing. So I can now see why the bands from yesteryear wanted these things on stage. Definitely. So yeah. So I'm settled with Hiwatt now. So that was the Hiwatt thing. Now the amps I used before I got invested in the whole Hiwatt thing. Before all this, I was using Kettner Tubemeister 3060s, and I just had the one lunchbox style amplifier with the 212 using Kettner cab, and that again was fantastic amplifiers. Cannot knock them at all. Great sounds, 3 channels, clean, crunchy, and then an overdriven lead for high gain stuff, and it sounded great. And then. But I always came back to these things. There's like a mystery surrounding this particular brand, and I had to get one, so I ended up selling that using Kettner, and then eventually bought these things. But I've had Marshalls over the years, but another British-made amplifier, and things like that. But this stays home now. This is my winner, I think.
Nice. It's interesting that the high gain obviously is voiced. For that extra, you get I think I've got 100 watt single input, foot switchable, and you got a pull bright on the clean channel. And then the second channel is gain and more gain, but you're getting your gain out of your T40/20, which has the half power, right?
Yeah. I think because it's like half the power of the high gain 50, and when you put a distortion pedal or any kind of overdrive in front of that, I think my science behind them isn't still 100% yet, but you put any sort of high gain distortion in the front of that amplifier, and obviously you max out the headroom much sooner than you would do with, say, this one, and it sings. It's just perfect. It's such an iconic sound and tone. Originally, I was using that the other way around, so this was my high gain lead amplifier, and that was just a clean amplifier. But I preferred it the other way around. I think, again, just like accidental discovery, I just had my rig all plugged in the wrong way around, and this sounds so much better, I'm going to keep this one, so that's what I ended up doing.
Interesting.
So I kept it like that, yeah.
So now what void or gap does the combo fill?
The combo, the combo is my latest edition, literally bought 2 days ago. The combo is is to make this tower of amps in one box, as close as near as damn it to carrying 2 amplifiers and a big heavy 412 with me. So the 2 amps and the 412 I sort of envisage as my live rig, and this thing to be more of a recording, something I can just pick up and take out the door and go to a practice session or a recording session with this. This sounds, for a solid state amplifier, it's perfect. It's great. It has got the true Hiwatt signature sound to it. I'll demonstrate that for you shortly. But it sounds just like a tube amp. I mean, the sticklers will say, no, that's impossible. Right. But I suppose it's down to the preference. But this thing sounds just like a tube amp, and it's still got the same Hiwatt, the sensitive EQ, and it's perfect for just that very thing. So it's basically a consolidated rig in one box with a combo. So, and that's the reason behind that being now with my new Hiwatt family.
Interesting. Yeah, we don't get. I don't think we don't get many of the solid state versions here, which is interesting because I imagine it's maybe a little bit lighter too.
Much lighter. There is still there's an output transformer in this thing, so you can hook this up to an extension cabinet. I could hook this up to the big speaker if I wanted to. This is an 8-ohm arrangement speaker cabinet. This does either 4 or 8 ohm output to an extension cabinet. Mm-hmm. But I think the solid state sound, it sounds great just as it is through the combo, I think. I don't think I'll be daring to hook that up through a big loudspeaker just yet. But that'll be something I'll be doing at some point, I think.
Cool. And I imagine it cuts through the mix well when you're with the boys. It's
absolutely. That being sort of the close to the top of it all, definitely. It cuts through the mix very well. You've got a loud drummer. You just turn the master up, and it still maintains its clarity. I mean, from my old solid state amps that I've had over years, because everyone starts with solid state, I imagine. You drive them so high that like your drummer's hitting really hard, your bass might be slightly too loud, or if you've got a singer that can barely hear, and then it doesn't quite pierce them through the mix very well. And the more you turn it up, it becomes more flubby and not as consistent. But this thing, the Crunch 150, it punches through really well, and it doesn't get flubby, and it maintains that clarity. The higher you turn it up, it still maintains that same tone as it is at, say, 20% volume or 60%. It's perfect.
So are they officially endorsing you, or do you just have a good working relationship with those folks?
Currently, it's a good working relationship. I would love for them to endorse us. Because I'm using all the Hiwatt stuff, and of course Monty, as you've seen, he uses the B300 head and the 115 bass cabinet bass amplifier. It's again it's part of the Max Watt series of amplifiers from way back when. I got a really good deal on it because it was an ex-display. Obviously, nobody had bought this thing, so I got it really dirt cheap. So I'm getting that. I'll buy it for you. So there you go. You can use it at your leisure now. So he has that. Again, as a live rig for studio and recording stuff. He doesn't use a Hiwatt bass amp for recording. He has I think it's an Ibanez Promethean or something. It's this tiny little 112, like a 110 combo. It's small, but it's really mighty and loud, and it's a really very surprising. You look at it and you think, there's no way there's any decent amount of volume that will come out with that, but surprisingly enough, there's a hell of a lot. Yes. So he uses that as his studio, and then he uses the Hiwatt bass rig as his live rig. Well, hoping to use that as a live rig at some point in the very near future, hopefully.
Cool. So what did you want to show us today in terms of some things that you just kind of work out on the amps here?
I'll show you the guitar. Obviously, you've seen it in some of the videos. I think
a beauty
going up there. So this is my Paul Reed Smith Custom 24. I bought it at the beginning of 2020 before it hit the fan. Mm-hmm. Before I had this Paul Reed Smith, I had another Custom 24, but the exact same model. Just the previous one was orange, and this one is like a grey, like a quilted top. I love Paul Reed Smith guitars. This is, one of the nicest things I've ever had the privilege of playing through, I suppose. Actually, if you like, I can show you some of the effects that I use. I don't have a massive amount of effects either. I use pretty basic. I can still down there. So as you can see, I have sort of electro harmonics guitar tuner.
Nice.
So the guitar plugs directly into that, and then I have this this Digitech Freakout pedal here.
Nice.
If you can see that.
Yeah.
And then into my crescendo TC Electronic Auto Swell, into the Morley optical wah, and then through this Stellar pedal here. If you can see that there, it's just put the guitar down. This Stellar pedal I built that myself from a kit.
Right.
Such a really good homemade high gain distortion pedal. And then just to the top there, you can see there's an NUX Atlantic delay and reverb combined. I have two of those, as you can see. I use one for the T40 and the other for the high gain 50. These aren't connected up right now, just for the sake of the neighbours. I didn't want to
sure.
like call the police or anything, but not that they would. They seem to enjoy what I play, so I'll play through the combo.
Cool.
So so I'm a really big fan of atmospheric guitar, and maybe you can hear some of that in some of the videos that I throw up on Instagram.
Definitely.
I'm a big fan of. I got into sort of like using feedback boosters and things like that. So like the whole.
Yeah.
With a clean, it's got that sort of old vibe to it, I suppose. And then some of the crescendo auto swell. I was playing around with some bits before, like this. And then the delay and echo just make it ring, just give it that extra body of, I'll give it an extra body. It's like so that's the crescendo thing. I recently got into optical wah pedals. I think as I've gotten older, I've gotten a little bit lazy when it comes to using a wah pedal. There's always that common mistake, especially with Dunlop and the grey wah pedals. But the clicking motion, and sometimes you miss the click, and then when you're playing on, it's like, no, there's way too much treble on that, and oh yeah, I've left it switched on. So the optical, the Morley works fine for that sort of thing for me. So yeah, it's such a really nice, smooth sweep on there, and I love all that kind of thing.
Nice.
I'm not sure if you've ever heard of the NUX pedals. Don't know how new they are. It was just one I bought on a budget off Amazon of all places. The thing that drew me to it was, apart from it was a 2-in-1 effects pedal, was the fact that the reverb could shimmer if you hold on the button. And I'm a big fan of shimmer reverb. It's like sort of mood for you there.
Yeah.
I could show you a little bit of the Stellar pedal, homemade high gain.
Yeah.
So it's maybe a little bit. It's not too bad actually. So that's I have that connected to the T40. So all the lead guitar sounds are all from this pedal. Before I made this, I had I don't know if you've heard of Stone Deaf Effects. They're a British company.
Oh no.
Quite popular with the likes of Queens of the Stone Age, I believe, and a few other bands. I had a Stone Deaf Effects warp drive pedal, and like parametric distortion filters, so you can really tighten it up, and like built-in noise gates and things like that. And I had that. After building this thing and giving it a decent test, I preferred the sound of that to the more boutique Stone Deaf, so I ended up selling that and keeping this. So So maybe akin to, say, Brian May building his own guitar.
Yeah, sure, for sure.
Build my own high-gain distortion pedal, and just see how that works. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting. You've got kind of a shreddy style, but you're allowing some space and some patience in what you're doing there.
Yeah, I think that I taught myself. I taught myself how to play the guitar when I was way back when I was 13, and I think one of the things I was fascinated with was shred. And I mean, I'm not any like widdly diddly, I can't do a million notes a second kind of player. I'm not like that. But I think the biggest influences for me, certainly in the way I've adapted my own style, was the likes of David Gilmour from Pink Floyd, Gary Green from Gentle Giant, Steve Hackett from Genesis, maybe a little bit of Robert Fripp as well is in there. So sort of mold them all together, and then put my hands to what they do, and then try and make something a little bit different, I suppose. And so keep the whole single sweeping notes as clean as possible, but not be the only instrument in the band, if that makes sense.
Nice.
Keep the notes nice, and thank you. Let's keep the let's let the listener maybe listen to the notes you've played rather than just let the mood decide what it wants to do itself, I suppose, with want of a better phrase.
Right, sure. How do you guys tend to write together? I mean, do you bring something in? Do you tend to write all together? Do you work off the keys, or all the above?
I think especially with how things are at the moment, with the whole lockdown and everything else, we've all been writing in our own right, like I said before. So Monty will play a bass line, and he's a very melodic bass player. Most bass players, just generally play the roots, maybe a couple of fancy scales here and there. But Monty is a very, how would I describe him? A very percussive and very melodic bass player. So it's maybe like to say Chris Squire from Yes. Very trebly style of bass playing. Monty is probably almost just like that, in that he could use the bass to make up like a riff or like almost a chord sequence on the bass. We have a single that's in the works. We did start writing it, and there's some bits of footage of it, but we're going to change the way the song is. It's a single that's going on the album called Solar. He leads the song, basically. His bass line leads the whole song, with just some nice guitaring to accompany that bass line. We write in our own way, and we do come together with the ideas we've thought of. We might pass them around, and then me and Martin is so there's the two mid-range members of the band, me and Martin. So we will harmonize like the key with the guitar, then the bass will harmonize with the two of us. Just try and make it exciting. So we write in our own ways, and we bring them all together, and then so here's what we've written. Let's just throw it out there and see what happens. Oh, instead of playing this bit, let's play that bit, and so on and so on. So there's a lot of nice, friendly exchanges of ideas between us all, which is why I enjoy about hovensghost, I suppose.
And actually, on your Instagram, we've got about 2,200 followers. Are quite nice. I think you posted your first gig from 2017, or bits of that, at a Delphi pub, was it?
The Adelphi pub. That was our first gig. So that was back in 2017. So when the four of us got together, and we basically just named the band. Monty says, there's somebody that's been in touch with him because he's been bassing for different bands and things for quite a while. He just said, there's somebody's got in touch with me about us doing like a bit of a slot because we were looking for a singer, and hopefully maybe one day we can still get a vocalist to join us. But there's a lot of melody in the playing as you've heard to try and make up for the lack of vocal, I suppose. So, anyways, we didn't have a singer, so the four of us said, yeah, okay, let's go and do the gig. And we were supporting another local band called English Outback, like an indie band. There was a few different bands on, so we went and did our set, and I think I would say we surprised people because it wasn't something that we were expecting. I don't think we were expecting four sort of northern lads from where we were from to turn up and play the kind of music that we were playing, and some very like kind of rough looking types coming up to us afterwards saying, "Oh, you remind me of Marillion."
Yeah,
I remember Marillion. You sound like Marillion. I can definitely hear your influences in there. So they were all very complimentary.
Nice. And
this was to a full room. It's the footage that's on the Instagram. It was only like an edited short of it, and which was kind of sad really, because if we got the whole gig in there was more songs. We were only on for say 40 minutes,
okay.
But it would have been nice to see from our first gig to how we are now.
Right.
And see it all how it's unfolded, I suppose. So yeah, that was that.
Nice. So let's see. Would you feel up to a round of kind of rapid fire questions? We covered some of your gear pretty well here, but
yeah.
You feel like
I'm gonna put the guitar down so I could warm up.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
The different. All right, cool. Okay, so now I know you love your Hiwatts. Obviously, that's essential. But is there, besides your Hiwatts or your Paul Reed Smith, is there one piece of gear you just cannot do without?
A piece of gear that I own, or what I'd like to.
Yeah, what you have right now, maybe live or studio or just practice.
The one thing I probably couldn't do without is, that's a good question. The one thing I couldn't do without is my NUX delay and reverb pedal. I think that is sort of paramount to my guitar tone. I probably couldn't live without that.
Nice. Is there a piece of gear that you just you might not use again, just for it doesn't fit your scheme?
A piece of gear I wouldn't use again. Again, another good question. Another piece of gear I wouldn't use again. I had a phase where I was using an E-bow, the resonator.
Right.
Great little device,
Yeah.
very very novel. I don't think I'd use one of those again. Too fiddly, and yeah, so I probably wouldn't use one of those things again.
Interesting. All right, well, we'll back it off a bit here and just ask about your favorite strings and your favorite picks.
Sure. My favorite strings, I use Ernie Ball Super Slinky 9s to 42s, I think they are, 9 to 42s. So I've used those since I picked up the guitar. My favorite picks, my only picks I use are these. You can see that in my camera's there.
Sure.
Ernie Ball 0.88 millimeter gauge picks. I have surplus amounts of these things. Drop them, you'll never see it again. So I make sure it's always somewhere I can see it.
Yeah.
So.
How is your action set up, or are there any other custom parts of your setup?
To this thing, there's nothing custom on the guitar apart from how it came from the factory. So everything on this particular guitar is all original. There's no additions, no personal things put in there. So it's double humbucker. I think I can't remember what pickups are in it now. I think they are factory. I'm not sure. This might be completely wrong. I think there might be Dragon 2 humbucker pickups or something. Or something like that. I could be completely wrong with that. But this whole factory set, there's nothing personal on there apart from the strap and the locks. There's only ball strap locks that are on it instead of the original ones that come from the factory. So that's the only thing on there that's for me.
Cool. Is there a piece of gear that you still have your eye on?
All the time. I think ultimately, if I had a never-ending pot of cash, I think I would love a DR504, so like a custom 50. Maybe a DR103, but they are loud, so loud. I definitely think I've got my eye on, say, maybe a DR504 or maybe the Hiwatt, the little rig head. So there's the little rig in the DR504, which I would love. Like I say, a never-ending pile of money that they would be here now as well.
Yeah, for sure. Is there any piece of gear that you regret selling?
Any piece of gear I regret selling? How long have you got?
Yeah, right.
I think this is going to sound really, really, really sad, but I think one of the biggest regrets I had from way back when was, this is probably going to cause some friction between the Solid State and the Shoe Band brothers, but I really miss my Line 6 Spider 3.
Oh, nice. There you go.
It was a great, I can't knock them, but it's plug and play guitar, so you didn't want to spend hours messing around with something. You could plug it in, you could do a few fine tweaks here and there, and you plug your guitar in, and away you go, and everything's all in that one box for you. Yeah. But obviously you get older and you think, I want something that's a bit more me. Right. But it'd be great just to have around in the house. I would never probably gig with it or anything. It'd be great just to have in the house and just plug in and just have a little tinker. But yeah, kind of one of the things I regret getting rid of. I think.
Oh, sure. What is your favorite chord and its favorite voicing?
My favorite chord and favorite voicing. I think my favorite chord has got to be F sharp minor. If we want to go down that way, I do throw the F sharp minor in there as often as I can. When you say voicing,
where on the neck or
voicing?
Like if you're lower down, higher on the neck, kind of
like a
minimal
like an up or down thing. I think an F sharp minor, it sounds great either this end of the neck or this end of the neck. They sound great in both contexts, but I think my favourite's got to be the nut end, definitely.
Yeah. Got a little bit of chunk down there for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now that's interesting, since you're self-taught. When is that moment you really felt like you were a guitarist? You kind of broke the threshold and you're a player, you feel like?
I think, yeah. The moment I felt like a guitar player, I think, was when, probably when you could master more than maybe more than one song from start to finish. But I started learning punk records because they're accessible to anyone that's just starting out. So like things like the Ramones, the Sex Pistols, the Undertones, all those kind of groups. Maybe a lesser known band over in the US, but the 12-bar blues band in the UK, Status Quo.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So Status Quo. I think one of the first songs I learned was Status Quo's Caroline. Once I could play the 12-bar section of that and then do the little riff at the same time, I think, yeah, things are improving now. I think the turning point, so that was one of the turning points, and I think another turning point, before that Status Quo song, there was a Yardbirds single called Heart Full of Soul, and that was the first song I ever learned to play, only because the riff was pretty easy, but as a beginner, anything sounds amazing when you don't know, I suppose. So that was like the first little riff I'll ever learn, and a couple of chords, and then once I'd done those sort of two songs in my own way, that's when I sort of felt that, yeah, I was improving and I was on the road to becoming a guitarist.
Nice. And now, what would you say is your kind of go-to technique, your favorite thing that you pull out when you're improvising or writing?
I think my favorite thing I like to go to is I do like to do a bit of sweep picking occasionally. I'm not not amazing sweep picker. I can't go like this and then like that. I'm not like that. So, but I do throw in the odd sweep between slower notes, and then so like a transition between a slow section to then another section I play a bit, and I'll do like a bit of a sweep, and then go into another bit, and then maybe another bit of a sweep. I think that's probably my go-to technique more often than not. And I have this I don't know what you call it. I suppose you could just call it alternate picking. It's like a bounce technique that I've somehow adapted to doing. If you like, I can show you.
Yeah, sure. Time. Please.
It's like this. It's like I call it the bounce technique. It's like this. I don't know what you call that. You probably just call it alternate picking, I suppose. Something like that. Yes, you could call it. I call it the bounce technique. He probably has a better name than that. But alternate picking bounce technique is probably what. That's the other one I like to throw in there more often than not as well.
Cool. All right, so that's patented. That is now trademarked. There you go.
Basically, for want of a better phrase, it's kind of the Holman's trademark guitar. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there a technique you'd like to try to add to your repertoire?
What kind of technique would I like to add? I'd probably like to. I think I probably know what would I like to add to my repertoire. I'd probably like to be able to play maybe a little faster, I suppose. I mean, I'm not saying that I could or I couldn't. I'd like to be able to maybe play a little bit faster. So maybe surprise everyone one day by doing a Dream Theater song, just picking up and doing a Petrucci lick or something, and doing it in its entirety. But that's probably not likely to happen. But, yeah.
What is the hardest song for you to play, either yours or someone else's? Speaking of Petrucci.
Yeah, well, again, how long have we got? I think anything Dream Theater, unless it's the slower, more melodic stuff that they've done, I would struggle. There is one song I do like quite a lot of. It's Constant Motion. The riff, I've never actually attempted to play it, although I have checked out the music for it and thought, it's probably doable. But then it goes crazy fast, like, the whole, like the wah effect and the breakdown section and how he does all of that live, and you've got Jordan Rudess doing his thing, and it's in perfect sync. That song I would probably love to be able to play, but it might be a little bit beyond what I can do, perhaps, but then again, anything's possible.
So you mentioned that song. Is there any other song every guitarist needs to hear?
I think if you wanted to skip many years of practice and learning, I think if you just bought a stack of Rush vinyl and just pinged away Rush, Alex Lifeson, let the records play, you listen to every single thing that guy plays, you would accelerate your learning tenfold, no problem. Like, everything from like Working Man, right to Spirit of Radio, right up to the Tom Sawyer and all those other things, and of course to top it all off, learn YYZ. You found a shortcut to like 5 years worth of heartache.
For sure. And lastly, is there any advice you would have for someone who's kind of in a playing rut? Is there anything you kind of do personally if you feel like you're just kind of not quite getting where you want to be, or?
If we all get the whole writer's block thing. for anyone stuck in a rut, or any sort of young musician that's just starting out doing that thing, I think it's all down to relaxing, practicing, patience, and development. So you apply those, say, 4 little points to your approach to the guitar, or the piano, or the drums, or whatever your instrument of choice is. Things start to, you'll start to claw your way out of the rut eventually. Because I think, like everyone, especially guitar players, they'll learn a pattern of notes and a few licks, and everything they will then play will be that pattern and those licks for quite some time, the same finger movements and all that sort of thing. So, yeah, stick to that, and then eventually you find the light at the end of the little tunnel. So if you play that, and you're stuck in that, well, where can I go from there? Where can I go from there? Oh, hang on a minute. Instead of doing that, why don't I try this? Why don't I try that? And then I'm expanding my little vocabulary without even realizing it. And I think that's the instinct that I've sort of followed really for certainly the last 10 years anyway.
Nice. Awesome. Well, thank you for that, Ant. That's appreciate that's a good rundown there. I really appreciate your time here. It's been super cool to talk to you, and I hope things get back on track for everybody here.